A few years ago, I left America for good and moved straight to Bangkok, Thailand. I'm going to explain why I pretty much permanently left America and how much more my quality of life has improved. I'm going to give you a little bit of my story just to show you some context and where I'm coming from. I was born in America in a small city in the suburbs from a lower class family, and ever since I was a teenager, I always wanted to be successful and rich. I saw everyone around me on social media just living their best lives, traveling, going to beautiful hotels, and doing all these fancy things, and that's really why I wanted to be successful, was to be able to kind of achieve some of those things. I was convinced that I could do it, so I began my entrepreneurial journey at around 18. I started multiple businesses, failed a lot, just kept trying, and basically just grinded away for several years, just in isolation, just constantly working. Long story short, I eventually found success, enough so that I was able to move away from a small city, actually one of the most dangerous cities in America, move all the way from there to New York City. And I was able to retire my dad as well. So this was one of the best things. Like, life was going very well, and I had basically achieved all my dreams. I was just living this lavish, very grand lifestyle. Yeah, everything was good until it wasn't. I found out that this thing that I was working so hard for, this lifestyle, all this money that I was working for, like this status, the destination I was working so hard for, didn't end up making me feel fulfilled. I had a lot of money. I was in the best city in America. Like, there's nowhere in my mind, there's nowhere that's topping New York. So I was like, wow, there's nothing really left. There's nothing else to strive for. This is it. And every day I would ask myself, like, how do I fill myself with as much pleasure as possible? I started getting so depressed, and a lot of these problems, they amplified in New York City, and I feel like I just had to leave New York. So I decided to try and live around and travel around in America, but I wanted to get out of my comfort zone and just do a spontaneous trip somewhere. I did some research and I decided I'm gonna visit Bangkok, Thailand. My plan was just to stay there for a while and then, cure my depression and then probably just come back to America. So that's what I did. I came to Bangkok, Thailand in the middle of the pandemic. I endured the 14-day quarantine, which was, I don't even know how I did that. And I just quickly fell in love with the city. When I first arrived in Thailand, I realized that many of the locals actually didn't know that much English, and it was a bit difficult getting around. So when you first visit any new country, I think you should at least pick up some of the basics and essentials. That's why I recommend Italki, one of the best language learning platforms. Now, the best thing about Italki is that you can learn from over 150 languages with live video calls with actual native speaking teachers. With Italki, you can get one-on-one customized lessons from a huge selection of native speaking teachers and discuss any topics you want anytime and anywhere. You only need to pay per lesson for as little as $5, and there is no subscription or commitment required, making it extremely flexible. So for me, one of the things I wanted to improve was ordering food at a restaurant. Nadomon here made me very confident in doing so in just one lesson. We could practice like ordering food at a restaurant.
I will be the waiter สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีครับ
กี่คนคะ
คนหนึ่งครับ
หนึ่งคน
หนึ่งคนครับ
How would you ask for a menu
ขอเมนูได้ไหมครับ
ขอเมนูหน่อยครับ better
Learning Thai this way was so much more faster and enjoyable for me rather than learning through traditional textbooks, because I actually get to practice real life speech face to face with a local. And specifically with Thai, there are many different tones. Mispronouncing a word can have a totally different meaning. So having someone to practice and correct me was super helpful.
สั่งอะไรคะ
เอาต้มแซ่บเนื้อแล้วก็ต้มยำกุ้ง
ต้มย
ต้มย
ำกินเผ็ดได้เหรอ
ำได้เลย
จริงเหรอ ว้าว
You can customize your learning experience by different categories for your best learning style. So Italki was by far the most quickest and most enjoyable way for me to improve my Thai. It's something I had wished I'd known earlier when I first arrived in Thailand. Click the link in the description to start your own language learning journey and use code PAUL5 to redeem an extra $5 voucher after you spend $10 on your first lesson. This discount is only available for the first 50 users, so make sure you check it out ASAP and get started on your own language learning journey. Link in the description. Upon arriving back in America, all the things that I didn't like about America, it just became a lot more apparent. And it gave me a huge reality check on the toxic lifestyle I was living. While I do love a lot of things about America, there are a lot of things I didn't like about America, which I'm going to mention right now. The never-ending consumerism. It's like you're always buying things to try and keep up with the Joneses, to try and impress other people. I feel like that's a huge part of American culture. It's just constantly trying to consume and never feeling like you have enough. And also like the livability of America. Unless you're in a huge urban city, most of America is built for cars. They're not built for walking. So you cannot walk to like the nearest market or a cafe or like see a bunch of people gathered outside just enjoying the city, enjoying each other's presence. It's more like you wake up by an alarm, you commute to work or to school, like pretty much for the majority of your life, and then you commute back to your home and you eat and then you sleep. And then rinse and repeat. And then maybe on the weekends you will go out. So that's like pretty much like majority of people live their life that way. And it feels like very soul sucking. And here in Thailand, the way I live my lifestyle here, it's kind of like the way a lot of people would live their life on vacation. Like for example, going to an onsen spa or staying at an accommodation with a beautiful sunset, rooftop pool that looks like it could be like a 5-star hotel that costs like thousands of dollars a night. And I'm living that kind of lifestyle here in Bangkok for incredibly cheap. So it's like, this is the daily norm for me because it's accessible and it's affordable. Whereas if I were to do these things in America, I would have to have a lot of money to access this kind of lifestyle. Another thing is the polarization and the division of America. It's like you cannot even have an opinion about anything that's even remotely disagreeable without everybody trying to cancel you or without like your quote unquote friends trying to say how you're such a bad person. Like I've seen like families and friends just torn apart by politics about like topics like this. You cannot even have a conversation because everybody just is so politically triggered, and it's done by like the people at the top. I truly think that the people that are running America do not have the average person's best interests in mind. Call me a conspiracy theorist or whatever, but I've seen that happen a lot in America. Next is safety and crime. Actually, in my apartment that I was living in, I lived in Wall Street, by the way, which is not a bad area in town. Somebody got killed there, and then just a few minutes walk from my apartment, this Asian guy was walking. Some guy looked at him and he didn't like the way he looked, so he literally stabbed him in the back. Now, I was living in New York during the pandemic, so a lot of Asian hate crimes were happening. Asian grandmas being pushed in the trains and just like Asian people just being beaten up. I'm not trying to be like a victim here, but I was extremely conscious of the potential danger around me. If you look on the news or social media, like there's just random assaults, random killings, random stabbings in the West. You know, all these malls and all these stores are getting shoplifted, and just like crime is exploding in America or in the West. And it's really sad to see, and it doesn't feel safe. It doesn't feel secure. Not only that, but it's also extremely overpriced, and inflation is just skyrocketing. Like people would be spending like $3,000 for an apartment that's unfurnished, that has no nice view of the city, that has no like nice pool. It's just like a basic place that costs like thousands. And I'm like, dude, if they came to Thailand, they could live like a king for like $500 a month. But it's so normalized to spend such a ton of money in America on basic living standards. Another thing is the culture and the lack of compassion for each other. I think why America is very successful and prosperous is because of its individualism and the concept of like the American dream, just constantly just trying to make it, trying to be successful. Whereas in Asia, it's very collectivist, which I really like, and just really looking out for another. And another thing is all the toxic ingredients in like products and foods and literally everything in our environment. Like I can't even go to a grocery store without half of the things on the shelf not being fit for human consumption, like all the chemicals, and none of this stuff is banned. Like if I compare like a cereal box here in Thailand versus the same cereal in America, the ingredient list is massively different. So I just feel like in America, like a lot of it's poison, a lot of it's garbage. Whether it's intentional or not, it's just, it is what it is. I cannot trust anything, like the news, the things I'm eating, the water I'm drinking. It's like, why can't I just live in a society where things are good and things aren't like trying to cause me damage or cause me harm? And I feel like a lot of things in America are just, or in America, it's just like you have so much distrust in everything. And lastly, it's transportation. For me personally, I hate driving. I hate the liability of having a car and just having to fill up gas, having to sit in traffic. But to be honest, the subway system in New York was pretty good and pretty convenient. But that's not like anywhere else in America where there's no such thing as like a train. You have to pretty much drive everywhere. So yeah, that's pretty much a short list of all the things I don't really like about America. And I feel like Bangkok in particular didn't have a lot of these problems. So I questioned why I had to stay. Why can't I just leave? And I was in a perfect position to do that because I was financially secure. I didn't have like a mortgage or like a bunch of liabilities. So I eventually just ended up selling everything I owned in America. I took the leap of faith and bought the one-way ticket to Bangkok, Thailand with 2 backpacks, and the rest has been history. I've essentially been here for about 3 years, and I absolutely love everything about living here in Thailand. I've got a great girlfriend, which you might often see on my channel. I have a great community. I have a healthy balance between work and play and social and just self-care and all of those things, I'm able to save a lot of money and also have a better quality of life. And spending only like $2,000 a month to live like a very, very comfortable lifestyle here compared to America where you can't even really get by with $2,000 a month, let alone live comfortably. And overall, everything has just improved tremendously. So the takeaway is back then I was just constantly pursuing the idea of success and wealth, but what I was actually pursuing was freedom. Freedom to be able to travel, to experience nature, to have time, to live in a great environment. Like these are things that you don't even need to be hugely successful or wealthy to achieve. The way I've kind of hacked it was like location arbitrage by living in Bangkok, Thailand, where I'm able to access these things for a lot cheaper while also being in a great environment. It doesn't have to be Bangkok, Thailand. It could be somewhere, wherever else in the world. Mine just happened to be Bangkok. So that's pretty much my story. I hope you enjoyed it. And let me know if you have any questions or comments. If you share any of my thoughts or any of your experiences, connect with me on Instagram at I'm Paul Lee, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.